Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. The agony of defeat for North Carolina as they go to Pitt. Frankly, this was really one of North Carolina's last really good wins, really good opportunities to pick up a good win. This would have been a quad one win. I don't like to get analytically nerdy here in January, but this was sort of an important game. Well, they go to Pitt. They lose 73-65. And man, oh man, North Carolina ain't good. And I think we got to have a talk about Hubert Davis and his future, as North Carolina, with this loss, falls to 13-9 overall, 6-4 in what is, frankly, I'd call it pretty much the worst ACC of any of our lives, okay? And so listen, I could spend, 15 minutes breaking down this entire game, and in, the 6-minute mark this happened, and the 12-minute mark that happened. But let's be honest, basically this game was just a metaphor for pretty much everything that is wrong with North Carolina all season long. First off, I think the thing that has become increasingly obvious, North Carolina's only pathway to wins, they need both Ian Jackson and RJ Davis to be great on any given night. And it's kind of crazy because if you watch, really, you usually get a good performance out of one, but not both. That was an issue on Tuesday night. RJ Davis goes for 16 points, certainly not playing like the ACC player of the year from a year ago. But Ian Jackson, who had that 5-6 game stretch of 24, 25 points a game he was averaging, has only 9 points. You're not going to win that way, especially when, all the other issues continue to pop up. This was a team on paper that you thought, okay, maybe they would be a pretty decent three-point shooting team. Well, on the season, they have struggled 32%. On Tuesday night against Pitt, they were, of course, 7 of 28, 29% on the road against a legitimate ACC team. Again, it's not going to get it done. And then down low, there's just not enough production. I mean, again, I could, break it down in X's and O's. It doesn't really matter. What matters is while they were fine on the boards, their starting power forward, Van Allen Lubin, 6 points. 0 points from pretty much the rest of the front court. I guess Jalen Withers had a couple moments there. But, I mean, you're basically getting essentially single digits from your front court. You have two very good guards that seemingly can't both have a great game at the same time. And the three-point shooting isn't good. I'm not I'm no John Wooden here when it comes to, understanding every nuance of basketball. But when your two best scorers don't seemingly ever have a good game together, when you don't shoot the three ball well, and when you get no front court production, that's a tough way to win games in any league, even in a down ACC. And so you look at North Carolina. By the way, incredible find by Matt here. They missed the final 7 shots of the game, one of their final 11 from the field. That is insane, okay? And so, by the way, great find, producer Matt. I didn't even see that. But when I look at this North Carolina team, listen, let's just have an honest conversation about who they are and where they're at right now. Because going into this game, this was really, again, I don't want to overstate it, but it was really one of their last really good opportunities at a big win to bolster their resume. So they now sit at 13-9 overall. As I said, they are 6-4 in the ACC. They're just not a very good team, and they're not, listen, let's just call a spade a spade. They came into Tuesday night in Joe Lunardi's last 4 in. Like, basically, they'd be, if the season ended today and Joe Lunardi was a one-man selection committee, they would be playing in Dayton. Well, they lose this game, and here's the bottom line. There's just not a lot of good opportunities left on the schedule, and the bottom line beyond that is that they just don't have a very good resume right now. Right now, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, 1-8 in quad one games. Again, I hate nerding out. I hate overanalyzing pieces of paper. But quad one games are essentially the best wins that you can have in college basketball. And the issue is North Carolina has one of them. They have one quad one win at this point in the year. You know who else has one quad one win? Arkansas. Freaking John Calipari has a quad one win. That's John Calipari. They're falling apart. North Carolina has the same number of quad one wins. Now, they played a tough schedule. They should be given the benefit of the doubt because they played Alabama. They played Auburn. They played UCLA on a neutral. They played Florida on a neutral. But you got to win some of them, right? I always use this analogy. John Calipari used to say this about his shooters. I don't need you to make them all, but you can't miss them all either. Well, that's kind of the same with North Carolina is I don't need you to win every big game. You can't lose them all either. But that's where this team is. And the bottom line is it's not going to get better. I tweeted it out on Tuesday night. Basically, barring one of three things. They either got to sweep Duke. They either got to basically win out every single game outside of Duke and probably win at least one, or they got to win the ACC tournament, or this is not a team that is going to the NCAA tournament. It just isn't. And it's a chicken and the egg thing. They're not playing well. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. First of all, they're just not playing well. Last three games, just think about their last three games. They lose at home to Stanford. Well, last four, really. Lose at home to Stanford, okay? I know that Kyle Smith is a really good coach. You can't lose at home to Stanford if you are North Carolina. They then go on the road, lose to Wake Forest. They beat Boston College in overtime. Boston College is 9-11, 1-8 in the ACC right now. Need overtime to beat Boston College. Easily could have lost that game, and they lose this game to Pitt. And so, like I said, it's a chicken and the egg thing of they don't have very many opportunities to, get real wins that really move the needle with the NCAA tournament committee. But then the counter to that is with the way they're playing, the ACC isn't very good. So I guess you have that going for you. But with the way you're playing, what's a guaranteed win? If you lose at home to Stanford, if you nearly lose at home to Boston College, like what is the great win that you feel? What is the game that you feel great about that is also going to be a good win? Because again, you have a couple big games that will move the needle, starting with at Duke on Saturday. But the counter to that is some of these games that should be wins on paper could easily be losses at Syracuse, NC State at home, Virginia at home. Like, is anything a guaranteed win right now for this team? And so let's not beat around the bush. Let's talk about Hubert Davis and his future, because I think if you're a North Carolina fan, like, how can you not be frustrated, okay? And so, listen, I think two things can be true, okay? I think Hubert Davis is a good guy. I think he's about the right things. I think he's, whatever. He's also a Carolina guy. And so when you talk about his future, listen, let's get right into it, okay? Because when you talk about his future, let's separate, emotion from reality. And the reality is this team isn't very good, and this program kind of isn't really very good under him either, okay? Remember, year one, and we've talked about this. Listen, I gave him the benefit of the doubt year one because he made the national championship game. But if you remember, they weren't very good basically until like late February. They were, I think, Carolina fans, you could correct me, but I think 14-6 or something like that. They were good. Then they go on this crazy run. They have success. They go to the national championship game. You think, okay, he's figured it out. Next year, start the season number one in the country. End up missing the NCAA tournament. Last year, to his credit, with a couple of the vets left over from Roy Williams, Armando Bacot, RJ Davis, they do win the ACC. But even in winning the ACC, losing the Sweet 16 as a favorite to Alabama. And now this year, it's looking like they're going to miss the tournament. So basically, we are talking about a program that never misses the tournament, potentially missing the tournament twice in a 3-year period. So what does it mean for this head coach? Because there is growing frustration. You could see it on social media on Tuesday night. Like, get this guy out of here. They can't close big games. They're not very good. They're this, they're that, they're the other thing. And so what I would say is I've actually spent a little time, kind of just talking to people over the course of the last couple of weeks. I will say, first of all, I'll say this. North Carolina, like the administration, they want to do everything they can to keep this guy. And listen, I could lie. I think they will. I think it would take something really catastrophic for them to have to actually move on from him. But they are 13-9 right now. They still do have 2 games against Duke coming up. You lose those games, you get blown out, you get embarrassed. I think it becomes a little bit of a different conversation, because right now I think the administration is saying, we believe in this guy. He's our guy. He's one of us. He's a good guy. He did just win the ACC regular season last year. But I think, you can look at last year and say that's kind of the outlier, because again, the year before they missed the NCAA tournament. The year before that, they weren't very good in the regular season. And so he does have a few things going for him. I think the people that matter really like him. I think, listen, we've talked about it. They've spent a lot of money on football over the last, 6 months, firing Mac Brown, bringing in Bill Belichick, ramping up NIL. So I don't think the administration is very excited about having to go through a basketball coaching search either, where you fire Hubert Davis, you're going to owe him some money. You're going to have to bring in a new guy. You're going to have to pay out staff, all that good stuff. So with Hubert Davis, I still think we're a little bit of a ways away from having the serious conversation about him not being back next year as North Carolina head coach. Certainly think it helps, by the way, that he did just get Caleb Wilson committed and, taken care of last week on Thursday night. We all watched, a lot of us stayed up to watch Inside the NBA at like 1:30 Eastern time when he committed. But I will say this. If it goes really sideways from here, because like I said, I don't think there's a lot of guaranteed wins left on this schedule, and the guaranteed wins aren't going to move the needle. Does 16-15 get you another year? I don't know. Does 17-14? I don't know. And right now you are a 13-9 team, which means to get to even like 18 and whatever, what would that be? 18-13 going into the whatever. That's 5-4 down the stretch. So listen, again, maybe we're overreacting. Maybe they go to Duke this weekend and get the win and we forget all about it. But the next 3 games are, I think, going to largely decide this season and the situation. Duke on the road, Pitt at Clemson is, by ACC standards, about as tough of a 3-game stretch, and then really a 4-game stretch if you include the Pitt game on Tuesday, as you can get. Now, the counter to that, of course, is that if you're struggling with Boston College, if you're losing to Stanford, I don't know how you feel great going into those games. But I just bring it up to very simply say, I still think we're a little ways away from a serious Hubert Davis conversation. But listen, this one game losing streak that's 3 of 4. It could easily be a 4-game losing streak, and you've lost. If you lose the next 4. That's 6 of your previous 7. Not good. We'll see what happens. Don't want to overreact, but we also have to be realistic to the situation as well.